Okay, so here is the World of Warcraft Atlas. And more importantly, there's the World of Warcraft Master Guide. In this Master Guide, there is a thing of terms which you can really understand if you don't actually understand people. Right here. Here's each of the terms, going from ad to zone. You see, an ad is a creature that adds to an existing fight against you. As verb, it's the act of having a creature add to that fight. That ogre is going to add. AFK, it would be away from keyboard. This means that the person will not be available for a short time. There is also a specific AFK command to let others message you to know that you're AFK. Aggro. It's most often to note that a creature is attacking your group, or one's character. When dealing with aggro and tank, where the tank is another term, it is defined as a tough character designed to grab enemy aggro and hold it while mitigating as much damage as possible. Warriors are often the best tanks, but paladins and druids are useful here as well. In lower levels, shamans and both hunter or warlock pets can be reliable tanks. Note that this is from the vanilla World of Warcraft strategy guide by Brady Games, and thus it might not be suitable for Warlords of Draenor content. And of course, you would know that monks are also effective tanks, and paladins and druids actually have been improved ever since the Burning Crusade expansion to become good tanks, although at that time paladins were known as the tanks of trash, where trash is more of a thing that's not described in the glossary, and it's a term denoting any sort of enemy in a dungeon, or aka an instance that is not a boss, where the reason they were known as Masters of Trash were that you can go and get yourself, and you have these auras that go and draw aggro, and thus you just go and grab the aggro of all of the trash, although it isn't as helpful for going against a boss, because any DPS you could just have a major surge in their damage per second, and thus take the aggro from you. Now, next term is aggro radius. This is the distance from which an enemy decides to attack a character. This radius is influenced by the level difference between a monster and the character, with relatively tougher monsters aggroing from farther away. This distance is also influenced by the type of creature involved, as a number of predators have a larger aggro radius to begin with. Being that, let's say you're over at Ridge Mountains, and you end up thinking, why don't I go up, but let's say east to Ren's the mountain over at the entrance to Searing Gorge. Well, over at Searing Gorge, there are these imps, and they have an aggro radius, and they'll just go like, boom, you're dead. in a few hits. Yeah. I need a better webcam, don't I? Okay, I just need a better computer so then I actually have encoding settings. Set nicely. Well, agility. Agility is an attribute in World of Warcraft. This attribute determines a character's ability to dodge attacks, score critical hits, and deal more damage in general with their attacks, although this is only true of certain classes. Although nowadays, with the Warlords of Draenor system, it's become apparent that agility is just what affects your damage for classes such as hunters, monks to the Windwalker degree, druids that are feral. What else was I thinking of? I'm thinking that might also be enhancement shamans. Okay, so area effect, also known as AoE. These are spells, abilities, and items that influence multiple targets over a given area. Sometimes these are based on a circle around a specific target person, the caster, or an enemy off in the distance. These are also based off a selected area. These are called ground-targeted AoEs. So, when I go and use my mouse, I can go and pick the area designated, and then go and shoot, let's say, a blizzard over it to that selection of mobs. Armor. This reflects the amount of protective armor your character is wearing. This statistic increases as you continue to find better equipment with higher levels. Your character's current armor is the primary factor of determining physical damage mitigation. I mean, that's basic. Everyone knows that if you have heavier plated armor, then you'll survive faster. Well, you'll survive more. And if you just have, let's say, level 1 armor while you're trying to do heroic dungeons, then no one's gonna take you for 2 reasons. aka, you're gonna die a lot easier with cheap armor, and then 2, they need an item level check. Now, the idea of item level was introduced in Wrath of Lich King, and it deals with that your character gear score must have a certain score, because they try and check for if you've gotten the correct amount of agility or stamina, well, or intellect or stamina or strength or so on, along with armor, because they want to make sure that you not only have the skills, but you also actually have the armor and the weapon to actually beat up those orcs to a pulp. And as Ragtag says, chop off their balls, slice them into, and drink. Get the out from the empty sacks and so. Oh yeah, I still find that funny. So, artificial intelligence, or AI, NPCs of various sorts have a certain level of intelligence that determines their activities in and outside of battle. Attack power is a statistic that influences the physical damage per second of your character. Having a higher melee attack power greatly helps in dealing more damage, especially of heavier weapons. Having a higher ranged attack power increases overall ranged damage. Although I think that was replaced with, as I was saying, just the 3-tier system. Well, the 3 different stat system. in Warlords of Draenor, and before Warlords of Draenor, in Vanilla Mists Pandaria, there was attack power, dealing with melee and ranged, and there was crit and haste and all of that, and they actually mattered more than just being secondary stats. And the big three actually did matter more than the factor that you probably should have a lot of it. Yeah. Okay, so auction house. It's frequently shortened to the AH. These areas allow characters to post many items for sale. The transactions have a modest fee, yet they allow your character to make sales and purchases without meeting other characters directly and investing major time in buying and selling. Well, in terms of selling and buying and all of that sort of thing, you can either use, trade chat, because that's what trade chat is supposed to be for us, not for Anal Thunder Fury. Yes, it's not supposed to be for Anal Thunder Fury. And it's also meant for the auction house. And in the auction house, you can go and use Auctioneer, TSM, well, TSM being an add-on called Trade Skill Master. And then you can go and buy other people's wares or sell them, as was just described. Where there are bids and buyouts, like an actual auction house. Now, Avatar would be the visual representation of your character in World of Warcraft. Being, of course, like, can I show you my avatar? Not like that. I'm talking about the movie Avatar, dealing with the blue-skinned aliens. There are blue-skinned aliens in World of Warcraft. They're just called Draenei, and they were introduced in 30th expansion. And the other thing that you could actually be referring to, say, dealing with Avatar, would it be Avatar: The Last Airbender, being a Western animation that is often mistaken for an anime. And no, that has nothing to do with World of Warcraft. Battleground. An instanced area for PvP combat. Sign up today in major cities or at specific instance portals. Oh yeah, there's actually a Battleground tab. I can probably pop that up. But the idea is that you go and open up that tab and you can just queue up for a Battleground without even going over to someone to open up the Battleground tab. And as a matter of fact, when I went over to a private server, there are Battleground tabs, and it's good that there are not dungeon tabs, because then you actually have to go and talk to people to go and form your group in LFD. And looking for group. And to call to arms. Go like, looking for more people for VC. Guess what VC means? Van Cleef. And it stands for the Dead Mines. Welcome to the Dead Mines. BBL. That's just a common term. Just means be back later. Although most people just say BRB, which means be right back. Bind. To bind to a certain inn with your Hearthstone, so that then you can teleport there in the future. It can also be used to define when an item binds to your character on pickup, bind on pickup, or first equip, bind on equip. And the abbreviations for those two terms are BOP and BOE. And that's what you meant by the need bar. either need or greed. And if it says, warning, this item will bind you, then it's bind on pickup. And once you go and get that item, then it will become soulbound. That's enough the term. Okay, bind on pickup, it means that a specific item will bind your character the first time it is equipped. After that point, it cannot be traded or put onto the auction house. Before that time, normal trade is completely allowable. Unless it's bind on pickup when you actually loot it. And for that factor, you can never give that away unless it's, let's say, in a dungeon group in live, and once you go and give away this item saying, wait, I didn't actually need this item, even though I clicked need because I'm just that hunter stereotype. That's why they call them hunters, because it's a symbolism between hunter and retard. Huntard. Bind on pickup. These items immediately bind to a character looted or crafted, and they can be never sold or traded for any reason, just as I said. Most often these items are of rare quality or higher and found from powerful enemies. You know where you find a bind on pickup? Anywhere. You know where you also find a bind on pickup? Blackrock Depths. That's just an example, and also what I just did was not picking my nose. I was holding my finger. Okay. Boats and zeppelins are used to travel between the two continents. You see, in Vanilla WoW, let me show you, mod, that there were two continents, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6. 2. And the world of Warcraft on this. Look at this. Look at it. All them flight paths. You were saying fast travel and that you have to go and learn to fast travel? Well, you used to not have... Well, there used to be not as many flight paths. And thus, when Cataclysm came out, they also had flying, they also changed the world. So then it's a lot different. And now there's Northern and Southern Barons and Sifts Barons. And yet there's still man-crick wife's jokes. And thus, here are all them flight paths. Enjoy it. Okay. Boots. It's not just an armor piece. It can either be an armor piece to go and put on your feet, or it can be an item in a battleground that actually increases your speed, and it's not actually an item, it's that you go and run over it. And it means you've been kicked from this group. And now you get the deserter debuff. Yes. That's how it works. Okay, as I was saying earlier, be right back, be right there. Buff. Using spells to increase the potential of your allies. This refers to both the act, please buff me, good priest, and to the actual spell effect. With this buff, I have 4,220 hit points. What? Because that's totally how people acted back in the day of 10 years ago. Bug. It's an in-game problem that causes something unexpected to happen. Vanilla WoW had a lot of bugs. That's why there was wall jumping. I play on private servers. I didn't actually play Vanilla WoW. You see, if I played Vanilla WoW, then I would be 2 when I played. And that would be kind of hilarious. Ha. 2-year-old playing Vanilla WoW. Think about that. Okay, so camp. To control a given area in hopes of either getting all the monster spawns for yourself, your group. Good plan, because you want to go and grind all those mobs. Or, for the purposes of stopping PvP enemies from having safety there. You can camp an area, a graveyard, the corpse of a fallen enemy, and so forth. This often involves multiple people to be done so effectively. The group fans out and watches for anything that'll try to disrupt their activities. Although, in terms of camping, Stranglethorn Vale on a PvP server. That's perfect. Perfect right there. Care Bear is a derogatory term that most people don't actually use, but it's a name for a person that avoids PvP, plays on non-PvP server, and so forth. I'm often Care Bear. I barely play on PvP servers, it's for when I'm, let's say, playing on private server, or when I just feel like playing on a PvP server, which is rarely, seeing is that my main server is Whisperwind, and that is normal server, not a PvP server. I would recommend playing on a normal server, seeing is that a noob would not want to get ganked 24/7. Because then that makes it hard to level, and then with making it hard to level, then you won't exactly enjoy the game, because then you just keep on dying, not because of monsters, but because people are like that. Cast. To use a spell. This may occur instantly, like Fire Blast. Instant to cast spells almost have no delay of any sort, or require up to several seconds of time invested in the casting process, during which interruptions may occur if the caster is struck. Only know there are actual interruptions, such as kick, where you literally kick them. No, not gab. No, not jab. That's just a normal spell. Counter shot for hunters. There's also the thing of. Oh, forget there are interrupts. Remember that there's an actual interrupt spell. You do not interrupt someone by just using your abilities. You have to use a specific spell. Caster. A person who is capable of casting spells often refers to mages, warlocks, priests, and druids that stay in caster form, aka balanced druids. It is implied in the name that the person is a softer target who needs either protection or fast elimination depending on their affiliations. Kill casters first. They're the supporting... the flag carrier. You know where that's said? Warsong Gulch. Warsong Gulch. And also, if you're going to support the flag carrier, then I guess you could be a glass cannon. Although, another thing that you could do is actually be a healer and help them stay alive by healing them. You could be anything. Just need to help them. Chain casting, going from one spell directly into the next. That shaman chain casts Lester healing wave every time she gets in trouble. That just means that you've either keybinded your spells, actually playing with the keyboard and the mouse, well, where the mouse is to move and the keys are to use your spells, or you have gamepad and you're playing with an Xbox controller, and you're actually fast enough to move and use your spells effectively. Cheese. A method of winning that isn't exploitive but appears to be unfair in one way or another. This may be quite inaccurate in some cases. This is a synonym for abuse. Such as if there are instant respawns on a mob that is great for farming, then you're kind of cheesing it, dude. No, I don't know if people actually say that. Okay, class. A set of abilities and statistics for your character that is chosen during creation. This greatly influences how you will play your character. For instance, unlike in Skyrim, you can't just be a mage that's also a druid, that's also a warlock, that's also a warrior, that's also a rogue, and so on. You can't multi-class to the infinities. You'll either sneak in the shadows, or you'll beat them up and chop off their balls, or you're a bear, which is, druid, or you're a hero of the light to go and heal your allies. It could be any of those, you just can't be all of them at the same time. Unless you're multi-boxing, and we'll get to that in a bit. Or let's just say that, because I don't think that they'll actually go and cover that in the glossary. Okay. Multi-boxing. The act of playing multiple characters at the same time. It's allowed in the terms of service by Blizzard because you have to pay a subscription for World of Warcraft. It's just that most people don't exactly like multi-boxing against them because it can either lag the server, so then everyone on the server just is thrown off and disconnected, or there's just a lot of people. Well, there's just this one person on a battleground that's just multi-boxing and killing you because they're skilled at playing one class and efficiently killing all of your team because you don't know how to kill a multi-boxer, or even know they're multi-boxer. Okay, combat pet. Warlocks and hunters have pets that fight beside them and greatly affect the outcome of a battle. Con, short for consider. This was used in many older mods to tell how powerful a creature it was, such as RuneScape, Ultima Online, EverQuest. I don't know. In World of Warcraft, this is done with both a numeric level comparison and by the background color of the mob frame. I just say compare. Like, let me go and compare these two items. I don't say con. Okay, corpse camping. Stay near a slain enemy in world PvP and in an attempt to prevent them from resurrecting at their body without being killed again. This is not griefing by definition. It's also not friendly. Well, by definition. It's also not friendly and considered a fair act of aggression against the party being camped. Is it a fair act? You're not letting them even stand up before you immediately go like, yeah, and charge forward and slice up them with your blows. Crash to desktop. Or you get disconnected from the game. That's just how it works, folks. Okay. Creep. Term for neutral creatures. Do I say that? No. What I say for creep is that in StarCraft 2, Zerg have to spread creep in order to actually place their buildings. That's creep. Crit. Short term for critical hit, a blow that roughly deals twice normal damage. Definitely want critical hits. As a matter of fact, that's a stat that Destruction Warlocks need. Destruction Warlocks, great. Critters. Creatures out in the wild that have no combat capabilities. Killing the areas is absolutely necessary. Okay. It isn't absolutely necessary unless you haven't gotten the achievement to go and kill all of them. But you also need to emote love them for another achievement. Achievements were created back in the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. Okay, customer service representative. Often called a game master. They're supposed to help people that are stuck in the game and something bad happened to them, not in a literal sense of, let's say, dying. It's more of, it isn't working properly. That sort of thing. Damage mitigation. The armor statistic is compared to a table of estimated armor values for a given level. The result is your character's damage mitigation found by highlighting the armor stat on your character's page. This value roughly explains the amount of damage absorbed by your armor when your character is struck by a creature of similar level. Abilities and spells can influence both armor and damage mitigation. Yeah. Damage per second is the base damage from a spell, weapon, or ability. It's only a part of the story. Damage per second, or DPS, is a way to figure out how effective per unit time a given action is. The higher DPS, the more damage an activity can produce. This is often most important for attribution PvP or PvE situations. In short-term PvP, burst damage is more important than specific DPS. The reason that you need burst damage is because you don't want to have good DPS and yet the person goes and kills you anyways because you didn't actually kill them fast enough. And the problem with DPS is that one of the reasons that you'll be kicked from the group is because you have way too low DPS and you need to actually learn how to play a class. Okay, debuffs. Any spell that goes on an enemy target and stays there for a period of time. Some deal damage, some reduce stats. And debuffs can also get onto you, either from a mob getting them onto you, or from an enemy player, or throwing debuffs onto you. As a matter of fact, that's the playstyle of the Affliction Warlock, or even the Shadow Priest, to go and use it's either Shadow or Foam Magic to spread curses onto enemies and slowly just kill them. Each torture. Exploit. Activities against the terms used for World of Warcraft and capitalize on bugs, giving players an unfair advantage over their experience, or XP measures your progress toward another level. Now, where we actually started off it was defense. This stat determines how often your character is struck physically, and how often such blows are critical hits. This stat has a cap of 5 times the character's level and increases towards that cap when your character is attacked. Direct damage. Spells, abilities, or items that deal damage immediately and directly to a target, also known as instants. Instant. I'm trying to pronounce it right. Didn't even spell it out for you. So then get the idea that there's a difference between an instant and an instance. Okay, so think about that. Dispelling, to remove a debuff from an ally or to remove a positive effect from a foe. Well, that's dispelling. Damage. DMG, shorthand for damage. No one says that, they just say damage per second instead of damage. DND, do not disturb. Do not disturb. I'm going crazy. No. Dot, shorthand for damage over time. Dot abilities, spells are often very efficient, but require slower tactics for the attrition to run its course. Warlocks are especially known for their cruel dots. Now that's what I meant for Affliction Warlocks. Duping. Creating multiple items from a single source. This is only possible through rare exploits, if at all during this stage of the game, and will lead to major penalties or banning of accounts. Emote. An action, often with voice or animation, that is made by your character. Emotes are very useful for role-playing and are covered in this guide. Here's an example of one emote. Dance! No, that wasn't really a thing for dancing. This is a thing for dancing. Okay, so next term is, already did experience, already did exploit. Farm, to repeatedly kill a given target or type of target, often for desired drops or trade items or equipment. Now that's what I meant for farming dungeon runs for gold, and is a very effective way to gain gold. To go and sell things on the auction house. Flag, an object target in the battlegrounds, often right-click to pick up or activate, often also used to denote PvP activity, such as That warrior is flagged for PvP. Get him! Being that maybe if you're on a PvE server and you find someone denoted for PvP and then you think, hey, I want to go and PvP that dude. Really? If they're flagged for PvP, then for all you know, they might actually be better skilled than you. Flagged to be PvP enabled on PvE, standard RP servers, and in the starter zones, using /PvP is required before fighting against the other faction as possible. Once /PvP is used, you are flagged. Nowadays, if you're in a PvP server and you go and kill some lobies, then you can actually do that. You can go and kill people in starting areas. Or, I guess you could wait until when they actually get out of Northshire Abbey and then kill them. But flight, both factions use bats, griffins, wyverns, etc. to fly characters between cities and downs. People may refer to this as being on a bird. Now, truth is that ever since the Burning Crusade expansion, there's been this idea that even you can fly now, and thus you don't just need to go between cities and towns. You can actually go anywhere. If you get to level 60! And then, because of the Cataclysm expansion, you can go anywhere in Kalimdor, Eastern Kingdoms, and Outland once you get to level 60 through flight. Free for all! It's a loot rule that allows any character to loot anybody. Often reserved for very close friends and trusted allies. aka never use this loot system. Gank, primarily a PvP server term and function. This is when characters are of much higher level go after younger targets that have no hope of surviving or even escaping when people are unprepared due to combat with the mob. A person who does this activity is a ganker. That's what I was talking about ganking in lobbies. GG, short for good game. So can the buddies after the end of Battleground matches, even when on the losing side. Good job to signal approval or appreciation. GIMP. Didn't know this term, but I feel like it's more of an older term. You know what I mean, of course. In the sense that it's not really used anymore. See, to GIMP means to take course of action with talents or equipment that makes your character ineffective. Being GIMP to be such a character would be to have full intellect gear warrior with side dose feeling improvements. People do not say GIMP, they just say that you have terrible gear. And if you had intellect gear in the time of vanilla, then you would definitely not have prot gear. Because they didn't think to add prot gear for the Holy Paladins. And thus, those Holy Paladins suffered because they either had to go and get to leather intellect gear, or they couldn't get intellect gear. Wait, male intellect gear. Because shamans. And were there leather using classes, because I don't think the monk was a thing, and priests used cloth. So yeah, did not have good stuff. GM, in-game Blizzard representative that tries to correct bugs or deal with harassment issues. Graveyard, a place where characters return after death. These spirits can run back to their bodies for life to begin anew, or they can resurrect at the spirit healer nearby. This damages their equipment and causes a status debuff for a short time. AKA almost never go to the spirit healer to go and resurrect unless you're desperate. And an interesting thing to note about returning back to your body is that Night Elves have ratio, which actually makes them move faster when going over to their body, and it's called Wisp form. Graveyard camping is staying in areas where enemies are spawned in the battlegrounds, or to use the spirit healer in the normal world. This is considered to be very poor taste by many players, and may in some servers may be defined as griefing. I define that as griefing. Grind, to specifically gain experience by attacking monsters, as opposed to questing for experience. Often repetitive and mindless. Now that's why people don't exactly like dungeon grinds, and yet they complain, because they don't feel like questing either. Try questing. Okay, group loot. It's a standard set of rules for groups and instances. Group loot does a round-robin system for standard items, letting each person loot a fair number of bodies. Then, when items with a chosen threshold drop, group window appears that allows people roll need, greed, or pass on the item. Now, common courtesy for need, greed, and pass is that if you actually need the item, being that it gives you a great increase in value for your armor and so on, then select need. If you feel like that you could use it on another character, then that sort of idea isn't really relevant for greed at this time. It's more of maybe if you could go and make a buck off it in the auction house. It's because it's a BOE. Although for passing, the factor for passing is that another thing about greeting is that if you feel like that you need the item but not as much as another character, then that's another reason to go and greed. And for passing is that you feel like that you do not need the item at all and do not want it, and thus do not feel like interfering with anybody's greed or need rolls. Oh yeah. Group party, a team of up to 5 players that are invited via INV /INV to complete common goals. This is great for questing and almost mandatory for doing instance dungeons at their appropriate level. Okay, that's what I say about the Jack the One Man Band. He cannot necessarily solo Deadmine Sweat. He was also terrible at playing it in an instance run. Yes, it was LFD where people had heirlooms on, and he also didn't understand any of it. I should just... Okay. GUI. GUI. It's the graphical user interface. in comparison to a virtual reality HUD, which is a heads-up display. Guild. Groups of players get together and form guilds. Initially, this takes 9 signatures from ungilded characters on unique accounts. This starts off by getting a charter on one of the 3 major cities in your faction. Although there is also the factor that nowadays it only requires 5 people to go and sign a guild charter instead of 10. And by 5 I really mean you and 4 of the people. Just as that I said 10 when I really meant you and 9 of the people. Hate list. Monsters keep an internal list of the characters they want to kill the most. This hate list. Damage done, healing, and if there are activities against the monster's interest, determining who stays on the hate list. Now, we don't really call this hate list. We call this a threat meter. And in order to actually get threat meter that you could see, then get an add-on. There are many add-ons out there. Okay, not really many add-ons, but there are a bunch of different add-ons that actually work for the task. And they are mandatory. One of them, wait for me to pick it up. No, not pick it up, but find it. That would be wait. Open up Curse Client, which is the thing that you use to go and download any add-ons, or if that's actually a thing. So, the next term is heal over time, and in shorthand used as a healing spell that helps an other character in doses and save in one instant chunk. Good thing. Hearthstone. An item given to all characters that allows you to bind it ends for instant teleportation once per hour. Although nowadays it is merely once per 30 minutes, or if you're in a guild, then it's once per 15 minutes. This, of course, makes things a lot easier because, you have to wait 15 minutes instead of waiting an entire hour to actually hearth back. Oh yeah, the common threat meter to go and use nowadays is Omen threat meter. And Hearthstone nowadays is also a card game developed by Blizzard, and they make where one of the lead developers is a man known as Ben Brode, who is also an NPC, which will come over to your garrison, and you can go and buy 2 items, being toys from him. And then hit points. The stat to measure how tough you are, dealing with how much damage they take for dying. Stamina bonuses, levels, and buffs affect hit points. Order. Power points gained from kills against enemies of similar or higher level and from Battleground.
Where are you going?
He's making faces and pointing to his camera.
I swear I will get rid of this moment. Guess what? I'm making a video. Which is, of course, just as you said, making faces and just pointing at a camera. Hey, it's video nonetheless. I will definitely get rid of this moment. Okay, so hybrid. It's a class that fills several niches or rests in between them. Shamans, paladins, druids are good examples of hybrid classes because they can switch between some tanking, healing, and damage dealing roles. And nowadays, shamans aren't really much of that, seeing as that it depends on how you think of hybrid. There are two-way hybrids and three-way hybrids. Most classes are two-way hybrids, although, well, in the sense that much classes are two-way hybrids, such as warriors, death knights, shamans, for example, and some just damage deal, such as warlocks and rogues, mages. And then there are the three-way hybrids, being the monk, the druid, and the paladin. And the priest is also a two-way hybrid because it can also heal or damage deal. Where the monk goes and beats up things with his fists as a windwalker. A brewmaster throwing brews to go and keep enemies on him. A mistweaver to go and heal his allies. Then a druid, and it can actually be 4 different specs. 4. You see, you can range DPS with a balanced druid, casting the power of the moon and the sun. You can be a guardian druid, which is a bear, or protecting his allies. You can be a restoration druid, healing your allies. And you can finally be a feral druid, which can go and scratch up your enemies. It is a cat. Now a paladin can be a retribution paladin, and they get the Ashbringer, the legendary Ashbringer, the one and only item that was even mythically thought of, that Nat Pagel could fish up the Ashbringer, that you could even fish up the Ashbringer. And there was also a clue, many different theories, from the Burning Crusade to Nox Ramus. So the original Nox Ramus had a person where you could loot the corrupted Ashbringer, and if you went over to the Scarlet Monastery, then there would be a special event where you could actually see the effects of everyone just bowing down to you as you wield the Ashbringer. Although now it's just given away in Legion. Yeah. In character, often used to let people know that you're speaking in character in a role-playing sense. IMO. In my opinion, or in my humble opinion for I am Mitchell, that's just basic internet speak. Incoming. INC. Let people know that enemies are on their way. More of a NPC or RP thing. Instance. An area that is privately loaded for individual characters or groups, such as instance dungeons, battlegrounds, or raids. Now, there is also the next term, used to denote the use of outside communication channels, like voice chat or instant messaging programs. Voice chat and instant messaging programs include Discord, TeamSpeak, Skype. Don't use Skype. Did I say Discord? Overwolf. BattleNet chat. the voice chat that they added in 2.1, which was actually a complete waste of a patch. Aside from, let's say, 6.1, which only had a selfie camera. Okay, seriously. Speaking. You then think about JK. It's just an internet term. Kill on sight. Someone that receives no mercy at all. Okay, so the example is, someone used spit on my boyfriend. Kill on sight now! Is that really a reason to kill on sight? Just an emote. They didn't even know if they were your boyfriend. Just an emote. Kill steal. To tap enemies and if their player setting up to fight. This prevents that player from being able to get experience for the monster. This can be griefing if done repeatedly, and it's very poor etiquette in any event. Although, it's completely mandatory if the starting zones are full. Kill in time. To kill in time. Or kite. Also summons the image of stretching enemies behind you like a person flying a kite. This is the technique of killing enemies slowly by using dots or ranged attacks to wound them while evading, running away from foes. Hunters are the masters of kiting. And thus, one of the key points to learn how to be the best hunter that you can be is to learn how to use concussive shot and aspect of the pack. Oh, no, not the pack. Aspect of the cheetah to kite those beasts. Lag. Delays caused by poor internet latency. Lag jumping is when your computer corrects for this and jumps things around on screen to get people into their proper positions. Try turning down the settings beside encoding usage. Then maybe I should get a better CPU. That's why lag is bad. Leech. To be in a group or raid and contribute nothing. They just sat there and leech reputation in Alterac Valley for 2 hours. Yeah, that's what people did in Alterac Valley because Alterac Valley was so long and there was so many different things that you could do in order to actually win, such as collecting things to unleash the big monster, which would then devastate foes. And then there's also actually killing your opponent's commander. Leet speak. They use numbers for replacing certain letters and generally idiosonic grammar to denote allegiance to the younger geek culture. Younger geek culture? Assay. That the actual original people that created Leet Speak should actually speak Leet Speak, which were actually the hackers, a certain group of hackers. Level. A measure of your character's power and progression in Azeroth. This ranges from 60 before the game's first expansion arrives. In the future, this will extend to 170, 1 through 70, and who knows what the future will hold. Yeah, it's sad because what they're referring to is that this book was created just before Burning Crusade, and thus they're in vanilla, which is 1 through 60, And then there's 1 through 70, which is Burning Crusade. And then there's 1 through 80, which is Wrath of the Lich King. And then there's 1 through 85, which is Cataclysm. And then there's all the way to 90 for Miss Pandaria. And then in Warlords of Draenor, you get to 100. And then in World of Warcraft Legion, there's 110. And then that factor kind of breaks people's minds because you think that you have to go all the way up 110 levels, even though they actually made it a lot easier to level, seeing as that it's times 2 the XP rate in comparison to the Olden Age, and also that things were actually harder to kill back then. Because everything is harder to kill. No, really, you can only take out 1 mob at a time. You have to actually use your healing abilities on yourself. Okay. Line of sight. The direct line between one ND and their target. Many abilities require a direct line of sight, and when LOS is broken, the spell's abilities will fail to go off. You know what I don't like about Hunters too? Is that before some patch, auto attack wasn't instant. You had to wait for it to shoot. Why? It's auto attack. Can't you just go like shoot instead of going, oh, I must wait to go. No, it's not aimed shot, it's just auto attack. Link to post a term in a channel that others may see its statistics. Holding down shift while clicking on item will do this for whispers and guild chat, but not for private chat channels. Okay, there's also putting web links into trade chat and stuff. Don't go there, as you could either A, get keylogged, or just plainly it might be something like a place trying to sell you gold or levels. Although I'm presuming that they might sell it to you for a lower price than what Jet Blizzard does for that, because they have, because Blizzard has implemented 2 sad things: the WoW token and the boost to 90 and boost to 100 features. It's simple to actually level, although it does take some time, and yet people think to get boosts. I guess it's to go and make sure to move all of those people that are gold farming, and then all those people that power level for money. And yet when I go and check trade chat, they're still doing it. Okay. Then there's LOL, laugh out loud, common internet usage for anything amusing. ROFL, rolling on the floor laughing, is also used. Low on mana and out of mana are statements made by casters to let the group know that fun time is almost over. In the sense that, oh, I'm casting spells, and I'm casting spells, and I'm casting spells, like, oh no, I'm out of mana. I guess I have to wait for my mana to recharge, right? You know, they're pots of potions. And then there's food, which can give you more mana. You just need to get out of combat, and then you drink the water, or you eat the food, and then the food could even give you a buff. But back to the point. Looking for group. LFG, VC, or LFG, Dire Mall, LFG, Nomrigon. Or LFG, it's used to let people know that you're trying to find a group to accomplish a task. Groups with open slots may yell, "Looking for more!" Although they'll probably say, "Looking for more DPS healer tank," "Looking for more just tank," not actually saying just, but looking for one more tank, being that they need a tank, looking for more, automatically. There's a comma. Tank, we need a tank. Or looking for more, need tank. That sort of stuff. Or you need a healer. Or you need one more DPS. Or you already have a tank and a healer. Or you need all three of those DPS. Loot. Loot itself is the treasure that is taken from monsters right after they fall. To loot means that they actually bend over and right-click their bodies to take solid items. Like, how does that cheetah have an axe? I don't know, it just fell from its corpse. How does it do that? Lobby! A person of low level for a given activity. This could be someone in the first few levels of PvP bracket, even if that person is level 58 to 52. Although, if you're going to be at, let's say, level 19, level 29, level 39, level 49, and all those 9s, then you're probably just going to be playing PvP, let's say with either heirlooms or trying to get even better gear than heirlooms, and doing PvP in that bracket. Mailbox. Many inns or bank areas have mailboxes. Auction items and money are delivered here. Money can also be spent to up their characters as items and letters. The fee is trivial, well, even at low levels. Your main is your primary character as opposed to your alts. For example, my main is a Worgen hunter named Aunt Petunia, based off, of course, Harry Potter. Master Looter, a loot setting that only allows the group leader to handle treasure and its dispension. This is time inefficient and often used in DKP groups or when dealing with extremely valuable loot. Although, it can also be used for ninja looting. Mid. To rest, eat, drink, or restore any fallen buffs when preparing for future fighting. This is often called by the group leader or a primary healer. Melee. Direct physical combat or close range. Mistel or MT. Although seeing as that you would use MT for a different term, being main tank, you would not actually say MT for Mistel. Done when you message the wrong person with a tell, or when you post to the wrong chat channel. Or it gives the example, "Yeah, my guild sucks, and I'm thinking of leaving them," said in guild chat. Response. Yikes, MT, I was talking about another guild. Sure about that. If you're gonna say that, then I guess it means that stuff is happening. Mount. A creature that your character can ride. At level 40, every character has the ability to learn to ride a mount, and for a fee, purchase one. Although, it has been changed in Cataclysm that now, even at level 20, you can learn how to ride a mount. Although, in Warlords of Draenor, if you have a certain number of heirlooms, then at level 1, you can learn how to ride a mount. MOG. Massive online game. MOB. Short for mobile. An old gaming term that persists. All of the world's creatures are mobs. You know, I don't really think of them as mobiles, I just call them mobs, because I think of them as that a large pack of mobs is a literal, definitionally, a mob of mobs. Think about that. Need for Greed, the honor system of loot and instance dungeons. This means that you try not to need on items that your character won't actually equip. If you're going to equip something, you need it. If you want to sell or send it to one of your alts or friends, it's greed. Nerf. When the game is patched and certain actions or abilities are reduced to effectiveness. They finally stopped nerfing Mortal Strike. Yeah, about that. Yes, that happened, but now it's so boring that you can actually press it along with only 3 of the buttons, and that's your rotation. Okay, Nerf. When the game is oh yeah, I already said that. Ninja. To loot an item that was up for discussion or roll need on items that quite clearly are not ones you need. This akin to an act of stealing from a group. Don't do this if you want to have friends. You want to have friends, right? Good guilds, good groups. It's not worth the money. NM. For some reason they want to say that it means never mind. Sometimes it is NVM. Hey, you're a noob. Or newbie. And it's an insult. It's often said when someone does something completely foolish that gets them in their group or team in trouble, such as that paladin bubbled while carrying the flag. Noob! It's just that maybe if you bubble, then you'll drop the flag, and then you have to go and pick it back up again, because you don't want to go and drop the flag when the opposing team of the horde, because, you know, in vanilla they didn't have paladins, and the alliance did not have shamans, that you do not exactly want them to take the flag in Warsong Gulch when you're also trying to go and get the flag over to your base and then say, hey, we got a point. 1 point. That's the point. It can also be used as a self-deprecating matter. Even though I've gone through Wailing Caverns 3 times, I still feel like a noob there. Yeah, that's because you only went there 3 times. I still feel like a new bit old for on the dead mines. The place is amazing though. Fools, all costs righteous. Now, NPC, non-player character, the various people of Azeroth who give quests, offer services, and exist to support the backstory of World of Warcraft are all NPCs. Off-tank, also known as secondary tanks, these tough characters that back up the primary tank by worrying about single targets that peel onto casters. Or there's the Four Horsemen fight in original Noxramas. Now, original Noxramas had a set of bosses, which there were 4 bosses where you had to go and kill all of them. And you also had to go and mitigate all of their damage effectively. And if they deal damage of a boss, then you want 4 tanks to go and do that. On my way is OMW. OOC, out of character, sometimes signified in role-playing servers, is the use of parentheses. The term has sounded, the ham has sounded, I must leave this place. Then with parentheses, I gotta go, guys. Oh, Pune, lead speak for a major victory over someone or something. PC, player character. Ping, to create a glowing yellow circle on the local map through a right-clicking area. This indicates the direct position of a target, especially useful in battlegrounds. This is also a specific hunter ability that is used to uncover stealth targets. Guess what? It's not called ping. It's called flare. It's not called ping. No. It's not. I need to change these encoding settings. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I need to stop complaining about that. And point blank AoE is stealth effect ability that centers around the caster. Port. To port or portal is to immediately travel to a certain location. Mages do this by porting to set locations. Any player can use their hearthstones to port to an inn that they have bound themselves to, and warlocks can summon people to themselves. Here's an example of summoning. Could you give me a summon? Summon. 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 Please summon. I'll give you 5 gold for a summon. Pot. Potions are often shorted to pot in game. Pot use is common in PvE and PvP to restoring hit points or mana. Other important potions include free action swiftness and many stat enhancing choices as well. Although free action swiftness is actually a racial for humans nowadays, or the trinket that's used in PvP. Power level is to assist a lower level character by helping them quest grind at a much faster pace, often more effective with slightly higher level characters that stay out of group. Proc. An item effects that goes off under certain conditions. On hit, when struck, etc. These often occur somewhat randomly and are somewhat powerful when they do occur. Short for programmed random occurrence. Professions. Trades for crafting and gathering. A character can only learn 2 normal professions as opposed to secondary skills, where there are actually 4 or 5 of those secondary skills. Those are fishing, cooking, archaeology, PSD, please send help. Used with ads for items requests for services. This lets people know if you want to be privately messaged with any offers. Puller. A person designated to pull enemies back to a group. A task that is essential for safe play in, for instance, dungeons. Hunters are ideal pullers, but any class can take the role if they're skilled and cautious. Now, the main idea of why they're a good puller, why they're good pullers, is that they have a spell known as misdirection. You have to place it onto the tank, and then the next ability that you use is having a threat automatically redirected to them, and by them I mean the tank. Yeah, I need to fix that. Puller, the person designed to pull enemies back to a group. I already said that. PvE, player versus environment quests, dungeon delving, and monster grinding are considered to be PvE content. Player versus player content are battlegrounds, world conflicts, and duels. Q, the waiting list for battlegrounds and login server. Now it's also for looking for raid and looking for dungeon.